he hurried on into the dervish snow without a good morning or goodbye, swaddled in his winter woolens like a man in the island of his deafness. And I felt that perhaps he had never stopped at all to tell me of one more departed stage in the progress of the boy I was pursuing. The Cardoma Cafe was raised to the snow. The voices of the coffee drinkers, poets, painters, and musicians in their beginnings, lost in the willy-nilly flying of the years and the flakes.
Ydych chi wedi colli rhywbeth, Dan Reira? Oh, I see. English. Lost anything under the snow? A bookshop. Yes, I knew it well. Ashes now under the snow. A young man, like you might be, only younger, and different too, come to think of it. Used to rub shoulders with me by the shelves in the back corner on the right. Just by there it would be. You see, poetry and theology was next door to each other. He was swimming out of his depth in a flood of words, and I was toiling up high mountains of biblical exegesis. I could see him down there in the flood, but he never looked up to me on the mountain. Believed nothing he did. My pleasure was to find a translation of a new German commentary on Mark, and a second-hand copy of the collected sermons of Christmas Evans. His pleasure was to read at me, like the bull of Basan, some Babylonian lines from a man he called Ezra Pound. Tried to shock me, he did, but I was not shocked.
Down College Street I walked then, past the remembered invisible shops, Langley's, Castle Cigar Co., T.B. Brown's, Puller's, Aubrey Jeremiah, Goddard Jones, Richards, Horns, Miles, Pleasance and Harper, Star Supply, Sydney Heath, Wesley Chapel, and nothing. My search was leading me back through pub and job and cafe to the school.
Oh, yes, I remember him well, though I do not know if I would recognize him now. Nobody grows any younger or better, and boys grow into much the sort of men one would suppose, though sometimes the moustaches bewilder, and one finds it hard to reconcile one's memory of a small, none-too-clean urchin lying his way unsuccessfully out of his homework, with a fierce and many-medal sergeant major with 3 children, or a divorced chartered accountant. And it is hard to realize that some little tousled, rebellious youth, whose only claim to fame among his contemporaries was his undisputed right to the championship of the spitting contest, is now perhaps one's own bank manager. Oh, yes, I remember him well, the boy you're searching for. He looked like most boys, no better, brighter, or more respectful. He cribbed, mitched, spilt ink, rattled his desk, and garbled his lessons with the worst of them. He could smudge, hedge, smirk, wriggle, wince, whimper, blarney, badger, blush, deceive, be devious, stammer, improvise, assume offended dignity or righteous indignation as though to the manner born. Sullenly and reluctantly he drilled for some small crime under Sergeant Bird, so wittily nicknamed Wazzo on Wednesday half-holidays, appeared regularly in detention classes, hid in the cloakroom during algebra, was, when a newcomer, thrown into the bushes of the lower playground by bigger boys, and threw newcomers into the bushes of the lower playground when he was a bigger boy. He scuffled at prayers. He interpolated smugly the time-honored, wrong, irreverent words into the morning hymns. He helped to damage the headmaster's rhubarb, was 33rd in trigonometry, and, as might be expected, edited the school magazine.
The hall is shattered, the echoing corridors charred, where he scribbled and smudged and yawned in the long green days, waiting for the bell and the scamper into the yard. The school on Mount Pleasant Hill has changed its face and its ways. Soon, they say, it may be no longer the school at all he knew and loved when he was a boy, up to no good but the beat of his blood. The names are havocked from the hall, and the carved initials burned from the broken wood. But the names remain. What names did he know of the dead? Who of the honored dead did he know such a long time ago? The names of the dead in the living heart and head remain forever. Of all the dead, whom did he know?
Evans K.J., Haynes G.C., Roberts I.L., Moxham J., Thomas H., Baines W., Bezard F.H., Beer L.J., Bucknell R., Twyford G., Vag E.A., Wright G.
Then I tacked down the snow-blind hill, a cat o' nine gales whipping from the sea, and white and eider-downed in a smothering flurry, people padded past me up and down like prowling featherbeds. And I plodded through the ankle-high one cloud that foamed the town into flat Gower Street, its buildings melted, and along long Helen's Road. Now my search was leading me back to the seashore. Only two living creatures stood on the promenade near the cenotaph, facing the tossed crystal sea. A man in a chewed muffler and a ratting cap, and an angry dog of a mixed make. The man dithered in the cold, beat his bare blue hands together, waited for some sign from sea or snow. The dog shouted at the weather and fixed his bloodshot eyes on Mumble's head. But when the man and I talked together, the dog piped down and fixed his eyes on me, blaming me for the snow. The man spoke towards the sea. Year in, year out, whatever the weather, once in the daytime, once in the dark, he always came to look at the sea. He knew all the dogs and boys and old men who came to see the sea, who ran or gambled on the sand or stooped at the edges of the waves as though it were a wild, wide, rolling ash can. He knew the lovers who went to lie in the sandhills, the striding, masculine women who roared at their terriers like tiger tamers, the loafing men whose work it was in the world to observe the great employment of the sea. He said,
Oh, yes, yes. I remember him well. But I didn't know what was his name. I don't know the names of none of the Sandboys. They don't know mine. About 14 or 15 years old, you said, with a little red cap, and he used to play by Vivian's stream. He used to dawdle in the arches, you said, and lark about on the railway lines and holler at the old sea. He'd mooch about the dunes and watch the tankers and the tugs and the banana boats come out of the docks. He was going to run away to sea, he said. I know. On Saturday afternoon, he'd go down to the sea when it was a long way out and hear the foghorns